Coming home may seem like a familiar journey, but for many Americans, it's a shock. After years of living abroad, they return to the United States and realize things are not the same anymore. From the heavy advertising, confusing tipping culture, to little things like not being able to catch a bus home from the airport. In this video, hear from real Americans themselves about what shocked them when they returned. 1. The sheer amount of advertising. The overwhelming amount of advertising everywhere, gas stations, airplanes, apps, games, and even the sides of roads, was a huge shock. After living in countries where advertising is subtle or limited, it felt suffocating to return to a place where the constant push to buy is everywhere. It feels like the country is always trying to sell something, and the bombardment is unrelenting. 2. Everything is bigger. Cars, homes, supermarkets, restaurants, and almost everything in the United States are so much larger than in other countries. After getting used to more compact living spaces, seeing everything spread out in such vast proportions felt strange. It was a constant reminder of just how different American life can be from other parts of the world, where things tend to be more compact and efficient. 3. Public transportation is terrible. The lack of a decent public transportation system in the United States was shocking. In most other countries, there are reliable and efficient systems for getting around, whether buses, trains, or metro systems. In the United States, however, you're really forced to drive everywhere, even for short trips that would be walkable or easily accessible by public transport elsewhere. This car-dependent culture can make daily life feel unnecessarily complicated and less sustainable. 4. Healthcare system and costs. The United States healthcare system was another huge shock. The fact that health insurance is so expensive and still leaves you with high co-pays for visits or medication is mind-blowing after living abroad, where healthcare is either universal or much more affordable. In other countries, access to healthcare was easier, cheaper, and often of equal or better quality. The American system, with its high costs and inefficiencies, was a rude awakening after enjoying the peace of mind of more affordable healthcare systems. 5. Obesity and portion sizes. Portion sizes in the United States restaurants are ridiculously large. After living abroad, I was shocked by how much food was given at each meal. On top of that, the obesity epidemic in the United States was impossible to ignore. It's a stark contrast to countries where portion sizes are more modest and where obesity rates are much lower. In the United States, it was striking how much larger people are, and it made me more aware of how food culture differs across the world. 6. Customer service and social behavior. I noticed that customer service in the United States is often more transactional than in other countries. People don't go out of their way to be friendly or kind. They simply do their jobs without much enthusiasm. It's not as warm or personal as in countries where service is more community-focused. This difference made me realize how much I had taken for granted, the kind of service that genuinely tries to make you feel valued and welcome instead of just doing the bare minimum. 7. Lack of cleanliness in public spaces. The public restrooms in the United States were not as clean as I remembered them. In other countries, public restrooms are regularly cleaned, and some places even have attendants keeping them spotless. In contrast, I was disappointed to find dirty restrooms, places with no soap or paper towels, and an overall lack of cleanliness in public spaces. After living in places where cleanliness is a priority, this was a difficult adjustment. 8. Lack of walking culture. In many parts of the United States, you simply can't walk anywhere. The lack of pedestrian-friendly cities was a major shock. After living in places where walking is the norm, it felt strange to get into a car just to drive to the grocery store or to visit a neighbor. The emphasis on cars in the United States leads to an urban landscape that is often unfriendly to pedestrians, which is a stark contrast to places that prioritize walking and cycling as sustainable and healthy ways to get around. 9. Personal space and communication style. Americans have a much larger personal space bubble, and they tend to be more direct in communication, which can sometimes come off as rude. After living in more community-oriented countries, I found it a little jarring to see people avoid eye contact or be less open in casual conversations. In places where interactions are more relaxed and people engage with each other on a deeper level, the directness and avoidance of closeness in American culture felt somewhat isolating. 10. Service prices and tipping. In the United States, service prices are much higher than in many other countries, and you still have to tip on top of that. I was shocked by how much more I had to pay for basic services like haircuts, taxis, and even food delivery. On top of that, tipping is expected, which is not the case everywhere else. The high cost of services combined with the expectation to tip adds another layer of financial strain that isn't as common in other countries. 11. Gas stations and payment systems. Gas stations in the United States are a pain. You have to prepay, often deal with a bunch of different screens asking for tips, and sometimes even have to watch ads while filling up. After experiencing gas stations in other countries where you just pay for the fuel and leave, this felt overly complicated and annoying. It felt like a waste of time and energy dealing with these extra steps, especially when the process could be so much simpler. 12. Addiction to technology and games. People in the United States seem to be addicted to their phones and the latest technology. I noticed this more when I came back after living abroad, where there was less of a focus on being constantly connected. The prevalence of mobile games designed to be addictive and encourage spending money is more intense in the United States than in other places. This tech obsession felt almost overwhelming, especially after experiencing places where people had a healthier relationship with technology. 13. Lack of curiosity about the world. When I came back to the United States, I realized how little people cared about other countries and cultures. There was a noticeable lack of curiosity about the places I had lived and the experiences I had. It felt like people were more focused on their immediate surroundings than on the world beyond. This lack of global awareness was a stark contrast to the places I had been, where people were much more interested in learning about different cultures and perspectives. 14. Social attitudes and impatience. Americans are often very impatient, and the social attitudes can be rude. In countries where people were more laid back and patient, the rush and sometimes rude behavior in the United States were a real shock. It felt like people were constantly in a hurry and had little time for pleasantries. This impatience could be seen in everything from driving to social interactions, and it made everyday experiences feel rushed and less enjoyable. 15. Political polarization and news media. The political divide in America felt much more intense after being away. It's not just differing opinions, it's tribalism, where people treat politics like team sports. The news media only seems to feed that division, with channels clearly leaning one way or the other. Living abroad showed me that disagreement doesn't have to mean hostility. Coming back, it felt like people were more interested in arguing than understanding. 16. Feeling disconnected from American culture. I've just returned to one of the most redneck states in the United States after living in Thailand for 5 years. I've been back for 4 months, and I'm absolutely miserable. The way people talk, what they talk about, what they care about, how they talk to me about my experiences in Thailand. It's like I'm in constant cycles of annoyed, angry, and sad. I feel disconnected and alienated from a culture that used to be so familiar. 17. No airport public transport the United States. Shocked that I'm not able to go from the airport and just simply hop on a train, bus, tram, and get to my home. The public transportation systems in South Korea and the Netherlands really spoiled me and made me realize how terrible the United States infrastructure is in this regard. The absence of accessible public transport options at airports made it clear just how far behind the U.S. is in this area. 18. Noise levels in public spaces. One thing that hit me hard when I came back was just how loud everything is in the United States. Restaurants are full of shouting conversations. Bars blast music at full volume, and even casual chats seem a few decibels higher than necessary. In other countries, there's more awareness of public space and shared quiet. The constant noise in American spaces left me feeling overstimulated and craving silence. 19. Materialism and brag culture. I meet people, and they tend to be very braggy about their accomplishments. Sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's not, but most of the time it's unsolicited. Mentioning their salary range, the company they work for, how much they made that year, what assets they have, etc. There seems to be little curiosity about foreign or international experiences. It made me realize how much more focused on material success American culture is compared to places where people value humility and personal growth. 20. Car dependency shock. Depending on where you lived abroad, the return to car culture is probably going to be the biggest shock. Get ready to drive everywhere again. After being used to cities with robust public transport or walkable neighborhoods, the sudden dependence on cars in the United States felt like a huge change. 21. Fear-driven mindset. In America, fear seems embedded into daily life. Fear of crime, strangers, lawsuits, and even other Americans. Watching the news is like watching a constant stream of worst-case scenarios. After living in a country where people felt safer walking at night or letting kids play outside, I found this fear-driven mindset incredibly exhausting and sad. It shapes everything from policy to how neighbors treat each other. 22nd. Lack of vacation time and burnout culture. In the United States, work is almost treated like a religion. Long hours, short vacations, if any, and a constant pressure to be productive. It all leads to burnout. I'd gotten used to the idea that rest and time off are necessary parts of life while living abroad. Coming back, I was shocked at how normalized exhaustion is here. It's seen as a badge of honor, rather than a warning sign. 23. The amount of waste and disposables in the United States, it feels like everything is wrapped in plastic or made for single use. From takeout containers and coffee cups to grocery bags and packaging, there's an overwhelming amount of waste. After living in countries where reusing is the norm and recycling is taken seriously, I was shocked at how casually waste is generated here. It made me more aware of how convenience often comes at the cost of sustainability. Despite being a leading developed country, the United States still makes many Americans struggle when returning. Perhaps reverse culture shock does not only come from differences, but also from the fact that we have changed during our journey of living elsewhere. And you, if you have lived abroad and then returned to your homeland, have you ever experienced this feeling? Please share your story in the comments section. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to discover more interesting stories like this.